file is to build a page list. This can be an onerous process, but it's such a key piece of the accessibility puzzle that it's worth it. You can't achieve certification for your workflow or for individual titles without a page list in place. And we've done the work to lay down the foundations of a page list in InDesign using the PageStaker script. Now let's take it a step further and actually build it. Now before you undertake this step, make sure that you've done the work of removing the character overrides from the HTML. Skipping that step will mean that some of what I'm going to show you won't work. Now, building the page list is a two-step process. So first we're going to go into the HTML. So here's the bones of the page list right here. These are all over the place. So there's one here, there's page 12, there's page 13, and then right up here. The page stakes in InDesign look like this at present, and in order to capture all the possible page numbers, you can use a Regex wildcard to search for any string of numbers and replace it with itself as the string transforms. So search for any number of digits by using a \d, and then we're going to, let me just pull this up actually. I'm going to open a find and replace window. And I'm going to copy a string that's in your cheat sheets. So what we're doing now is we're looking for that opening span tag with that long class string. And then we're searching for a \d, so a numeral. And then this plus sign means one or more times. The question mark means don't be greedy. So what that means is we're telling the regex search and replace to grab the shortest possible string. Sometimes regex searches can get confused and can get a bit greedy and grab more content than it needs to. And so that's what that question mark means. And then finally, it's all wrapped in a set of brackets. So here and here. And those brackets are important because they say that we want to preserve what's in the string. So whatever number it finds, we're going to preserve it. And then we're going to replace it with this string. So we're replacing it with a span with an EPUB type equals page break, and then role equals doc page break. And then we're going to give it an ID with a page of $1, a title of $1, and an ARIA label of $1. So what the heck is this $1? What that means is that we're replacing it with the very first set of found things. So everything in the first set of brackets. If we had more sets of brackets that we wanted to more strings that were in brackets that we wanted to replace, we would iterate it, say $2, $3, etc. A quick warning that in Sigil, this string should be \1 instead of $1, because the flavor of regex in Sigil is just slightly different than in Oxygen. So just good to be aware of that. And then finally, we want a period. So this ARIA label has spaces around it and a period at the end. And we have to escape that period because a period in regex is a really powerful wildcard. It means everything. And if you don't escape it, it's going to do weird things to your string. We want a period at the end of that ARIA label title so that there's a pause when the screen reader reads it. And then we're going to search and replace. So let's watch that and see what happens. So it found the very first string, and then I'll say replace. And so what happened is it replaced what was there with a self-closing span tag with the page number 5 in all the appropriate places. And when I replace all, it found all the pages in this content and replaced them all. Now, I've only done the work to replace it in this one HTML file. You can also you can select all the HTML files and do a search and replace globally. It's the same thing. Just go back and get that string. It can be replaced on a global scale. So replace all, done. It found 14 other pages. A quick caution, this search string is not going to find Roman numerals because they're not digits. So just be cautious of that. You can either search for instead of a \d, do a \dot, and then it will find either numbers or letters. Or you can fix those Roman numeral pages by hand if you have them. I've had some books lately that had pages that were numbered A, B, C, D, E, F. So that will find that as well, just FYI. So step 2 is the next thing. So let's go over to the toc.xhtml. We need to assemble the page list in the navigation document. And this part is, well, there's no point sugarcoating it. It's just not fun. I use a kind of a page list outline that I modify for every book I work on. I keep it stored in BB Edit. So this is the page list outline that I use. It's got everything I need. And it goes up to page 394. And it's just naming a blank book title, book.xhtml. So generally what I do is I copy this and I paste it in. Now, as is, this is going to throw a whole bunch of validation errors because I don't have a HTML file called book.xhtml. I also don't have Roman numerals in this book, so I'm going to delete that. So this is like an outline of a page list that you then modify to fit your content. So the first step here is to go to the last HTML file and go to the bottom and find the very last page, which is page 30. So there's 30 pages in this book. So then I'm going to go to this page list and modify it so it only has 30 pages. Ah, went too far. Okay. Oh, fart. I was holding down the wrong key. There we go. 30 pages. Now the next step is I need to modify book.xhtml to the correct names of my HTML files. So let's go into the very first HTML file, number 1, which is the cover and does not have a page number. Poetry-1 has page 3 and page 4 in it. So a couple of things that we just figured out. I don't have a page 1 and a page 2, and I may want to add those into into the first HTML file. So in order to do that, I'm just going to copy this, go over to Poetry, and then put them in. I did something there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put one in the beginning and one in at the end. They can just be standalone, and then I'll modify it. So 1, 1, 1, not 13. And then 2, 2, 2. So poetry.xhtml holds page 1 and 2. So I will modify this to say poetry.xhtml has page 1 and page 2. And then page 3 and page 4 are in Poetry-1. In general, I avoid rekeying because I am exceptional at typos. And then Poetry.2 holds pages 5 through to page 18. So I will go to page 5 and modify it to Poetry.2 and then down to page 18. And then really, this is what needs to be done. This just needs to be updated to reflect the page list as it exists in this book. And it's, you may find efficiencies that work for your workflow. And if you do, please, let me know about them and I can share them more broadly. It is tedious work. There's no way around it. So the final pages are in Poetry-3. I'm going to copy and paste that and modify it. And I copy and paste wherever possible because I am terrible at typos. But this is how it goes. So you can imagine if you have a 600-page book with 41 chapters that this is tedious work. There's no question about that. There's no way around it. I have a workaround that is a little less tedious, but a lot less scraping through a long series of HTML files that I'll tell you about. Sometimes when I export from InDesign, let's open an InDesign file. Sometimes when I export from InDesign, let's call this temp so it doesn't replace what I'm working on, I don't split the document. So I just say no thanks, keep everything in just one XHTML file. And then I clean up everything in that one XHTML file. I do all the things that we've done up till now, cleaning up the HTML, adding context breaks, fiddling with the language stuff. And then when that's done, I bring the ebook into Sigil and add in the chapter breaks. Excuse me. When that work is assembled and the book passes EPUB checker, I open it in Sigil and add the chapter breaks. And Sigil is kind of brilliant at this as an ebook editor, as it only does this one thing. It's purpose built for ebooks. So it understands that inserting a page break, excuse me, it understands that inserting a page break means that the path to the new HTML file must be updated in the navigation, in the OPF, and any other internal references such as footnotes. And this works really, really nicely. Sigil will also let you right-click on the new HTML files and update the name to something more meaningful like chapter1.xhtml. So that's a slight workaround that you can use, and it works really nicely. Sigil for the win in this case.